Hey everyone, I'm excited to introduce Charlotte. Charlotte, the president of makesy, the world's largest supplier of eco-friendly and home fragrances and personal care supplies and finished products. She also serves as the National Candle Association Board of Directors. Charlotte, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm super excited to be here. Looking forward to chatting about all things e-commerce and holiday season and hopefully, sharing some wins that others can utilize in their business too.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to have these conversations. I think they're really interesting conversations to have. And I know a lot of the brands and other founders always appreciate these conversations. So, to get things kicked off in the chat, if you wouldn't mind putting in where you're listening in from. And then as we go on through this interview, if you have any questions for Charlotte, please drop them in the chat and we will get to them at the end. So really to kick things off, Charlotte, would you mind taking us to the beginning of how did makesy come to life and what inspired you to start this amazing journey?
Yeah, so makesy is this it's a unique story that's kind of defined around finding the white space in the market. One of our founders actually invented a product called the wooden wick. It's a wooden candle wick. If you guys have ever had a wooden wick candle, it crackles while it burns like a fireplace. And the invention of this product kind of snowballed into, an evolution over the years of what makes it today. But essentially, we started with this one hero product that was an innovation in the market. And we have over 130 patents on that product now. So we have like a well protected innovation that was very foundational in us getting started. And from that product, we basically looked to, complementary SKUs that we knew candle makers were buying. They were buying wicks from us. So we knew they're also buying wax and fragrance and vessels and other components too. And after doing an analysis of the market, we realized that there really wasn't anything else very innovative or eco-friendly or premium positioning in the market in this space. And so we found this white space opportunity. We launched probably 20 products into the category and did very little marketing on it, but it just like organically was very well received and gave us enough indicators that this was something worthwhile to like invest in and sink our teeth in. And that was about 10 years ago. So fast forward now, over the years, we have basically done the same thing where we find the white space within home fragrance and personal care. And we've launched like more clean beauty, eco-friendly, like again, premium position products within those spaces in soap making, perfumery, bath and body products, and so many, all of it like goes into like, we just found the white space and we looked at who our customer base was and what else we knew that they needed.
That's amazing. It's super cool to see the evolution of the brand and more so, I guess, a personal question for you when it comes to, every successful operator, they really have this unique story. What personal experiences have shaped your journey and successes you've experienced in the e-commerce world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say one of the biggest ones is just mentorship and networking and having a like family within the e-commerce space of people that you can go to and have conversations about, have you tried this? What's working for you? And also relying on our vendor network and our software partners for just a sounding board. I think in general, like in a founder or executive level position, you might not have that sounding board within your own company. So I think that's been really critical for me is just seeking out mentorship and building a really strong network of people that I can bounce ideas off of. And just not everything works. So over the years that like just my own my own failures and wins have shaped the trajectory of the company too, of just trying things. And that's been a big part of us too. It's just we experiment a lot in product, in software, in marketing. And so we've failed and we've had lots of wins along the way too.
Of course, I feel like that's always part of the founder journey, and honestly, really anyone's journey at a startup. And I think what you said about finding, other founders, I think that is really impactful. I'm curious to know, like, how did you find your community? Was it going to network events? Was it just reaching out on LinkedIn? Like, I'm always curious on that. It's a question we get from brands is how do we connect with other founders in the space, and what do you all recommend? Because I know other founders, they just want to talk to each other. Like you said, they want to bounce ideas off each other. You're all having similar issues. And so I think that's a question we get at ShipBob a lot is how do you find this kind of family within e-commerce? And like personally, how did you find the right mentors and people?
Yeah, that's a great question. Definitely like just going to events, I think is really important. You'll find people, you'll meet people, you'll hear stories, you'll meet new vendors, and new partners in the space too. So I go to like as many e-commerce based events as I can. And I'm in LA. So luckily I have a lot around me that I can go to. I went to ShipBob's Fulfilled conference in Vegas just this year. And like, that was really impactful too, just to, again, like you hear like these kind of big themes popping up from other businesses. And it's very like helpful directionally to either affirm or not like what you're doing in your business. So I would say just going to events like marketing events, e-commerce events, small ones, large ones, and then also joining trade associations within your specific industry. So as you mentioned in the beginning, I'm on the board of directors for the National Candle Association. Being within the home fragrance industry, that has connected me to so many other influential people within our space. And so if you're in an industry that has any kind of trade association or has any specific like leadership groups that you can join, I would highly encourage that.
Yeah, no, that's super good advice. And yeah, I think that's really helpful for every founder on the call. Cause like I said, it's you everyone wants to talk to each other and kind of bounce ideas off. And I think that's what makes the really great founders and just leaders in a company stand out. And also it's just helpful. So switching gears a little bit, building a resilient brand is not easy in today's rapidly changing landscape. What adjustments have you made to meet the evolving expectations of your customers?
Yeah, I could go so many different directions with this question because there's so many ways that we have evolved like over the last few years, especially like with rapid changes of like COVID, and being in an election year and going on with the economy right now. That brand, we feel like they've been on a roller coaster few years. So in terms of what we've done to be resilient, like this is not a paid pitch by ShipBob here, but like one of those things absolutely is investing in a good fulfillment partner. That has been a huge stress off of our shoulders because back to the roller coaster, like we've had, crazy year over year sales growth during COVID. We've had flat years over the years, like, and that's really hard to ride that wave gracefully from a financial standpoint, from a staffing perspective, from an inventory management perspective. And so having a piece of that in our fulfillment that flexes up and down with our business has been really helpful in terms of resiliency. Just keeping a close pulse on, your sales numbers. Like that sounds really, really basic and obvious, but like you have to make sure that your sales numbers are matching, your budgets and that you're not overextending yourself, especially like over the last few years where we've had such rapid changes in the economy. So I think that's been really critical. And then on the customer side, just leaning into what we know works has been a big thing, where I mentioned being experimental, and we still are, but during COVID, we were like really experimental because almost everything was working that we were trying. And now post-COVID, like we've learned a lot over the years about what our customer base is looking for, what our hero products are, and we're really leaning into those hero products now. And how can we iterate on what we know has been successful and what our core customer base, really is interested in, versus like getting way out there with different types of products.
Yeah, totally. I can only imagine during COVID. I know I was buying a ton of candles. I'm sure candle sales were booming personally. It was like my
Yes.
little life of happiness. And I was at home 24/7. So having a candle, honestly, it was just such a mood lifter for me. As like silly as it sounds, it really does kind of shift how you feel. It's like that personal care aspect. So that makes sense. And so I know you mentioned ShipBob being pivotal. And so my next question is, I know supply chain has become increasingly complex, right? And can you walk us through the strategies you've implemented to manage your supply chain effectively? I think that would be really helpful for, a lot of people on this call today as supply chains changing. So would love to know like some of your best practices, even how you evaluated finding the right 3PL, I think is also really important.
Yeah, for sure. I think COVID highlighted for any product business that your supply chain is the backbone of your business. And if you don't have the right infrastructure in place, then you're not going to make it. So I think some lessons over the years for us, highlighted by COVID and then changed over the last few years. One of them is just like supply chain security and making sure that wherever we have, I'm mostly speaking to the product side here, but wherever we have a core vendor, we have a vetted backup. Wherever we have a hero product, we have a vetted backup. And just making sure that we really have strength and very close pulse on our vendor network and what's going on within raw materials and like down the supply chain within our industry as well. And then during COVID, like because there were so many shipping delays and because of container costs and because of everything going on in the world, we really like bought heavy, like we were heavy in every way during COVID because we were selling out of product faster than we could get it in. And we got here, it was already not enough. So there was a lot of learning about planning during COVID, and now we're more in a steady state growth rate after COVID, and so we're focused more on like just in time supply chain planning right now, or close to that, where we're running leaner on inventory. We have kind of a good flow where we have our own production and manufacturing facility, and product gets ingested here. It gets manufactured, kitted, bottled, whatever process it goes through. And then we know like we have this flow to ShipBob where, we know how much time in transit, we know how much time in receiving. And so we're always working, like 14 days ahead of that timeline because we're making sure we're keeping that like flow going and we're like feeding our supply chain, so to speak. So that's worked really well for us in terms of vetting and
Mm-hmm.
finding a good partner. I think quality is incredibly important, and making sure that whomever you're working with is they are a representation of your brand. And so that was like a really important piece for us, is just knowing that there's like quality and care and brand standards being upheld. Especially, like, I've used the word premium a lot of times, but we're premium position product. And so that, has to happen within the delivery experience as well. So that's been, all of those things like have been evolution over the last few years, but now I feel like it's more automatic, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, it's in a flow where we know we have just a better pulse on what our demand is going to be. And we know our timeline for reactivity from that as well. So
Yeah.
COVID probably made us all better planners.
No, I love that. No, and that's really cool to kind of see that be implemented, and now it is so automatic. I guess, and I really think I want to double down. I think the backup plans, that's so important. And how you mentioned having a backup plan for your hero product, like that
Yeah.
is honestly like very smart, and like I think something that does get missed. And so I guess talk me through, like, do you all, when your hero product, are you all using any like forecasting tools, or how do you forecast for that?
Yeah. So just from like a tech infrastructure standpoint, we're on Shopify Plus. NetSuite is our ERP that we utilize. So
Got it.
NetSuite is really like our hub for demand planning, and where we look at all of our, historical sales, where we've had seasonal spikes in demand, because we have seasonality to a lot of our products too. So that's really our hub for all data. And we've developed a lot of great tools within NetSuite that make our supply chain team's job easier by like using technology to forecast when those spikes are going to be, and calculating, here's the lead time on the product, and now you need to buy it because you're at risk of, by the time it gets here, you're going to be close to your min levels. And so we've definitely like leaned into NetSuite a lot for demand planning. And there's always surprises, like that is inevitable, but we capture most of it through NetSuite's demand planning tools and through, analyzing historical data.
That makes sense. And that's really great to hear that you have found something that works within NetSuite. And, there's a lot of, I would say, brands we talk to that are still living in spreadsheets, which is a dangerous place to be. But I get it. And so, yeah, it's great to hear what you guys are using for that and how it's helping you. Moving on to acquiring customers, I know right now we increasingly hear it is very hard to acquire customers. It's at an all-time high. How do you balance this with maintaining profitability and growth? I know you mentioned trying different things, but staying with what works. I'm curious to know, like, how you all are continuing to grow yet stay profitable.
Yeah. Such an important question, especially like within our e-commerce space here. And we have really shifted from looking at our acquisition costs on a ROAS basis to a acquisition cost versus lifetime value basis. This will like vary for each business based on your cash flow situation, based on like your risk levels that you're willing to take, based on how much data you have about your customers and how loyal those customers are. We're in an industry in our space where we've built a lot of loyalty to our brand. We have really strong retention rates, and we know that, once we get our customer in the door for the first time, we kind of is going to be over their first few months and over the first year that they're within our customer base. And so we've just, I think that the rising advertising costs have forced us to look at it on a little bit of a longer term investment scale versus in the past, just saying, yeah, we want this ROAS because this is what our profit margins are and this is how much money we're willing to spend on advertising. Like, if we only looked at it in that sense at this point, we would be missing out on a significant audience of new customers that we could acquire through advertising because we're only looking at it on a first purchase basis. So I think looking a little bit further, a little bit more long-term down the pipeline. And again, that will depend on whatever that lifetime value number is that you're willing to accept in your business is based on like risk and cash flow. So you may say, I want to make my advertising money back within 30 days or within 60 days, or I'm okay with it 90 days, whatever that number is. And then looking at what's my lifetime value over the first 90 days of this customer's journey. And so now looking at that number, here's where my acquisition cost needs to be. So I think we've really just shifted the way that we look at it to think bigger picture.
Yeah, I love that. And when it comes to like all of this, do you all work with an agency or is this in-house?
We work with like a boutique agency for our advertising. And I would say on top of that, like one other piece of advice, because so many brands work with agencies, but even if it's in-house too, I think it's really thought-provoking and insightful to get audits on your advertising. You can use like Upwork, or you can use other tools, or you can just reach out to other agencies and get audits done on your advertising. And if nothing else, you'll just have someone asking questions of like, why are you guys doing this the way you are? Why did you set up this campaign this way? And that's also been really helpful for us just to have outside perspectives and bring in other best practices versus like only just relying on one source of truth. Yeah,
really smart. And it's always like you said, it's always good to get audits, and it sometimes makes you think like, hey, yeah, why are we doing it this way? Or that's a good question.
Yeah.
And so, that makes a ton of sense. Now, shifting gears into honestly one of my favorite topics, which is Q4, and I'm sure one of your favorite topics as well. Reflecting on past holiday seasons, what are valuable lessons you learned that helped you streamline operations and boost holiday sales?
Plan ahead. That's like my number one. Plan ahead. So for makesy, our holiday season really starts October 1st, if not sooner, because we're in a space where people are buying our products to make something and then either sell it or gift it for the holidays. So we get started pretty early with the holidays. But that being said, I saw consumer brands this past weekend starting like Black Friday advertising. So I think that over the years, I've just seen holiday marketing and promotions move earlier and earlier and earlier into the year. So plan ahead is like my biggest piece of advice on this. At makesy, we do a unique promotion called the 12 Weeks of Making, where October 1st through the end of the year, every single week we have a unique promotion going on.
So smart.
That could be like promoting a specific product category, or it could be a site-wide sale, or it could be a loyalty point sale. But each week we have something new and exciting, and that has really helped us maximize and like just grow lifetime value from our existing customer base by like constantly giving them some fun to engage with during the days. And our customers who've been around for more than a year, like they get really excited because they know the 12 Weeks of Making is coming, and they're excited for all of the sales that they know are going to be happening over the last few months of the year. So plan ahead from a marketing standpoint, and that also allows your supply chain and your operations team to be in lockstep with you. So for us, like before October 1st, we've planned out the whole year and the rest of our marketing calendar. And then now everybody knows here's the inventory that's going to move fast this week. Here's, what we project the order volume is going to be, because we know this sale is going to produce this kind of reaction. So I think just really getting ahead of it as much as possible is critical. And, that starting earlier will probably help maximize your holiday sales on the sales front too, not just for ease of operations, but to again, like maximize from your customer base, how much they're engaged with you during the holidays and how many repeat purchases you have during that time.
Yeah, I love that. Two thoughts on that. Like, one recommendation we say to our brands is exactly what you said. It's like, make a calendar, make sure operations is in loop with the promotion, have those on your calendar so everyone knows when you're going to be experiencing these big spikes. And second question I had for you is a question we see brands ask. It's, how do you, and I think you all do something a little bit different and unique and creative, because I think something that brands struggle with is, like you said, holiday discounts come so early now. So it's like, how do we offer a discount? And then after, in a couple weeks, it's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, offer another discount. And then, in Q1, maybe we have more inventory than expected and we have to discount again. So I think the creative approach of offering different discounts is really honestly unique. Something I personally haven't heard, but have of course seen. And I think it keeps people, hey, I really want to get this promotion. And then it's going to change next week, right? Like, it's not coming back for Cyber Monday. It's gone after.
Yeah. And like, even so this week is a promotion on our candle containers, our vessels. And it's the biggest sale we do on that product category every year. So there's definitely a sense of urgency for our customers, because this sale is not coming back until next year. Like, they're not going to get this discount on this product category again. So they got to buy this week to take advantage of it. And by like segmenting our product types and what we're promoting, we're not competing with our Cyber Monday and Black Friday offers, because those we normally do site-wide sales for.
Yeah, it has to be tough when all that starts like now.
Yes. Yes. Well, at least the planning takes some like weight off of our shoulders.
100%, which brings me to my next question. You've been talking a lot about planning and how you utilize NetSuite and how your tech stack is so important. I guess, would you mind walking us all through what tools and technologies you all use, what you have success with, what makes the biggest impact, and really what you recommend to brands and founders on this call that they take a look at, especially going into Q4?
Yes, definitely. So I mentioned NetSuite already, but that's like a very foundational part of our tech stack. We use that for inventory management, order management, finance. Everything really lives within NetSuite. And obviously at some point we came from the world of living within spreadsheets, and we had QuickBooks Online. And I think that when we first started talking about implementing NetSuite, it felt like, are we really ready for like this big ERP system? Like, are we ahead of ourselves here? But by the time that we like finished implementation and we got it going, like looking back, I think how we couldn't have scaled the way that we did without having a really strong technology, like to house all of our data and manage all of our processes for us. So if you think it's too soon, it might not be. So
have the
I think I think NetSuite's a great tool. I'm a big like proponent and fan of NetSuite. We've been on NetSuite for, I think, 5 years now. So it's what our business runs on.
And question for you is, how did you go about implementing that? I know that's a big question too. Did you work with a NetSuite partner to implement that? What was the timeline? Did it have like any interruptions within like your current day-to-day? How painful was it? All those questions. You wouldn't mind walking us
Yeah.
through that? I know a lot of people want to take the plunge into NetSuite, but also are probably keeping them up at night on how much that's going to impact their current business, and how painful truly is it?
Yeah. It's a great question. So we utilized a NetSuite partner agency for our implementation, which was fine. Like it was fine. I'm going to say fine because it wasn't incredible and it wasn't bad either. Knowing what I know now, I probably would find like an individual NetSuite expert that I could work with. Anderson Frank is a really good agency that has a ton of NetSuite experts that they have as independent contractors that you can work with. And I say that because NetSuite is so highly customizable and you're starting out with a blank canvas. So I think having a person that's really committed to understanding what your business needs are would have been more beneficial for us back then. And that was like, we got implemented with an agency and we kind of had this like generic, out of the box, ready to use platform. We ingested all of our data from QuickBooks and spreadsheets and brought it into NetSuite. And then after that, we ended up like working with an individual to actually get it where we needed it. So I would start there from the beginning. And depending on how clean your data is right now will also like dictate how hard it is to migrate because, I've experienced this and I've heard a lot of other people say this, but implementing an ERP is kind of like temporarily having a second full-time job because you can't let your regular day-to-day stuff slip, but you also need to work on the implementation. I think it probably took us about 3 to 4 months to get through implementation, which is probably right in the middle for what it typically takes a company to do. 6 months would be like on the longer end of things. But it definitely was a good amount of work to do. And you got to clean up your data if it's not clean already as you're inputting it. But I would never go back. Like I could never imagine not having it now because we have like thousands of SKUs and we feel like we would just be have no idea what's going on like without this tool. So
it's like the source of truth. It's like the backbone. Yeah.
It's the source of truth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then one other question we get a lot is for customer support. Any tools you all use around customer support?
Yes. So over the years, we've pretty much used like all of the core softwares out there over the years. We used to be on Gorgeous. Right now we're on a platform called Customer. I like them both, honestly. Like I think they're both great tools. I don't have like a strong inclination of one over the other, but Gorgeous and Customer, I think they're both really great platforms for customer service. I think over the next few years, a little transition like more AI focused software because there's so many questions that ChatGPT could answer instead of a customer service agent. So that's where I see it going. But yeah, for customer support, we utilize that as the software, and then we have an in-house team, but we also have an agency that we like and just for like bring the partner that we can utilize that helps in-house to steal
Wait, Charlotte, if you can hear me, I lost you for 2 seconds, but I think it's coming back. There we go.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you. The last thing what I think we heard was just 2 tools you recommend was Customer and Gorgeous. And then you also had an agency, which I'm curious to know if you can walk me through agency you're using, because I think that's really interesting. And does this agency essentially like help answer customer support tickets for you on behalf of you, acting as a CS rep on your side?
Yes, they do. The agency that we use is called Steady Customer Care. And basically they have an offshore team that they utilize, which helps us with cost and it helps us with hours because we're on Pacific time. So we may want to staff for, earlier in the morning hours to accommodate East Coast or international audience, and they're available weekends, they're available holidays. So they help complement our in-house agents and help us deal with like ebbs and flows in spikes when it comes to customer service.
That's really cool and something really smart to implement, especially like in Q4 when I'm sure that's when you all are seeing a lot of customer support tickets on usage of the product, questions, all those things. I know you guys all have a really great website. I think your descriptions are really great, but you're always going to get someone that has additional questions. So that's really an interesting agency, and like really I would seem as like very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if I cut off during this part, but I was saying too, like I think that customer service is moving more into an AI focused direction as well. So that's something that Makesy definitely got our eyes on, and we're like evaluating and looking at software partners for now as well, is, whether they're technical questions or where is my order or product information, like we don't want to lose the human touch, but like, are there questions that can be directed and answered, without a human being, basically?
Totally. Yeah, that's like one thing we have right now with Just Gorgeous. Hopefully, other providers to come, but we send pre-shipment notification to the Gorgeous dashboard so that reps can answer those questions like, hey, there's a weather delay in Chicago, there's a snowstorm, your order's not going out till 12 p.m. So when we like coin the phrase like Wizmo question, where's my order? It's like the number one support ticket question. You get people like me, which if I don't get tracking really quickly, I'm like, what's going on with the order? And it just like helps streamline that. And yeah, to your point, AI is really the future when it comes to that. And just having someone or a tool be able to really answer that quickly and automated would save a ton of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a big part of our tech stack. And to circle back to your other question too, on like just our tech stack in general and tools that we use. I mentioned we're on Shopify Plus for our website. Shopify's been key for us and such a great platform that, again, thinking in terms of scalability, like it's been incredibly scalable for us and allowed us to build this amazing website while being able to like plug and play with most other software in the market. So that's been really great. And then a newer one that maybe would be useful to people listening in, not a newer software, just newer to us, is called Rithium. It was previously called Channel Advisor. And that's basically just a marketplace platform. I think they have over 200 marketplaces that you can link your Shopify catalog with, and then you can launch your products on Walmart.com, on Amazon.com, on like a lot of big box retailer platforms as well. So that's been a really exciting and useful tool for us in terms of software as we look at expansion this year and going into next year, but just getting our products on more platforms as well.
Rich, you're beating me to my next question, which is wrapping things up and looking forward to 2025. What are you excited about in terms of innovation and growth for your brand?
Yeah. There's a lot of product innovation that I'm really excited about.
Exciting.
So yeah, I think that back to what I was saying, like leaning into our hero products. A lot of our hero products are based on innovation, something new that the market has not seen before, or something exclusive that either, only we can make, or only we have IP on this product. So we have some really cool new innovations within home fragrance and personal care that we're launching, even some this year and into next year, that I think will become new hero products for us. And we're really like leaning into also tools and resources and education and things that our customers need in order to successfully make a candle or to successfully start a soap making business. So I think following the theme of like continuing to build upon what we know our audience wants and what we know they need, and leaning into that. And then just like innovation and expansion, marketplaces is a big piece of that for us as well. Back to our advertising question, like advertising is more expensive. It's harder to get people to your website. So we're looking at, having our brand in more places, and that's digitally, that's in brick and mortar and big box retailers. And then in addition to that, like just really focused on our conversion rate on our website too, and like how we can maximize when we get people onto the website, like how do we get them, through checkout after that. So all of those things have been, a part of the strategy looking ahead to next year. And just highlighting one other piece on product expansion. Over the years, like makesy has historically been in a like supplies side of the business where we're selling people everything they need to make a candle or make a soap or make a perfume, but not the finished product. And last year, maybe it was even early this year, we made the expansion into actually selling the finished products as well. So we have on our website like a white label ready category that can be used for corporate gifting. It can be used for brands who want to sell candles, but they don't want to make them. Or we have a lot of customers who buy product from us and then sell their candles or sell their soaps, but at some point they get to like the point where I can't continue to make this product myself. I need to outsource the manufacturing. And so we have expanded our manufacturing capabilities a lot to accommodate this like finished product sector in the business. And that's an area that I'm really excited about continuing to grow as we look to 2025. And just supporting more of our customer base and then supporting a broader audience of people with that capability as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, really, really cool that, you're building brands within brands, right? You're supplying the product
exactly.
and people are living with it. Like that's ultimate goals. And then lastly, to really wrap it up, I have to ask you the advice question. What advice would you give to aspiring e-commerce operators? And where do you get advice from fellow founders, operators, clubs, Slack channels, anything like that you can share with us?
Yeah. So going off of like what's really worked for us and like a strategy I would use in any other e-commerce business that I would start would be like this white space analysis. I think find the white space. Like don't try to be everything to everyone, especially when you're first getting started. Find your niche. Like I've said this phrase for so many years, but like find your niche and rule it. So, like focus in on what you're adding to the market. And I think that will be critical in your success. That will be critical in your marketing. It will help you tell your story and why you exist and why customers need your product, or your service or whatever it is that your business is built on. So I think white space is
is like my number one piece of advice, and look to find the white space. Second, like surround yourself with great partners, great vendors, great fulfillment partners. You know, easier said than done, but think of it like dating. You got to get out there and you got to like date some people to meet the right one. And so like date vendors until you find the right one. I think those are probably like the biggest things, with white space being like my number one piece of advice. And then we touched on this earlier too, but for anyone who didn't get it before, network, like go to events, talk to other people, like find a trade association, find, LinkedIn groups, find Facebook groups, whatever. Like it can be in any modality that you're comfortable with, but get out there and talk to other people and network within your industry, or even just within e-commerce as a broader bucket. And you'll be quicker to find those right partners, and you'll be quicker to come up with new ideas and new channels, or ways to market your product.
Yeah. And I think it's ask your tech providers and agencies for introductions to brands. I think that's something we do a lot. And I think it's like smart, right? Like ask us. We're always happy to make those connections. But honestly, Charlotte, I could talk to you all day. I am a huge fan of what you're doing and the brand you've built. And so for anyone that wants to connect with Charlotte, you can find her on LinkedIn, Charlotte Katona. And then everyone, please make sure to check out Makesy. It makes an amazing holiday gift for anyone in your family and for any friends or anything like that. And with that, Charlotte, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Carly. It was great to be here. And thank you everybody who listened in. I hope you guys got something valuable out of this talk today.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.